this Finance Committee meeting to order. The date is January 25th, time is 3:01. With us today, we have Alderman Tolliver, Alderwoman Bade, Alderman Warman, Alderman Bugg, and myself, Alderman Franco. First item is 24-0033, approval of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting held on January 11, 2024. We have a motion by Alderman Warman, second by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, do we have everybody from the public wishing to speak?
No.
Okay. Then we'll go on to the meat of the agenda, 24-0050, resolution authorizing the execution of a memorandum of reimbursement between Cyrus One and the City of Aurora for the property located west of the Eola interchange at 2725 Bilter Road, Aurora 60502, for which Cyrus One is the contract buyer.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Alexandru, Chief Management Officer for the city. Obviously, I am not David Debo. The good news is that David was called away. His daughter is in labor in Madison, Wisconsin. So we're sending very good wishes to David. So I'm going to try and do my best to fill in for Mr. Debo. So what you have before you is a memorandum of understanding. The city was approached by Cyrus One, who's a well-known business data center operator over off of Eola and I-88. They've had a long-time client in Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I think this council has approved in the past expansion plans that have come to fruition at their present location, and they are basically out of room. Everyone knows the tremendous growth in data centers and the demand for data centers, and the need for data centers, especially with the rise in artificial intelligence and all that comes with that. And so Cyrus One approached us about the 30 acres that is on the north side of the tollway that was part of the DuPage Property Ventures, roughly 100-acre parcel in and around the Eola interchange. And so what we have is sort of the first step. The Cyrus One is a contract purchaser of the 30 acres. There were a number of very positive reasons that Cyrus One had, in addition to being able to retain CME as a tenant. The close proximity to their existing data center. Obviously, we all know about the tremendous connectability and access to the city's fiber. And so this is sort of an initial staff level determination that in fact the data center is an appropriate use for the property. It's important this first step be approved so that CME and Cyrus One can move forward, continue and finalize their lease negotiations, which will extend their long-term partnership beyond the existing footprint of their building into a new facility. More significantly for the city, this MOU recognizes the significant investment that the city made back in 2008, 2010, in that era, for the interchange itself. And so the MOU does include a required contribution for Cyrus One to recapture that investment in hopefully up-to-date dollars, as well as any lost future opportunity cost from the intention after we agreed to the edge development on the 60-acre parcel to the north for a change in the city's original planning vision for that 30 acres. That vision included hotel, some type of mixed-use hotel, retail off I-88. So this MOU would allow that to conclude, and then following up with this, a final agreement would come back to City Council, which would be at the same time as the zoning entitlements, and that agreement would be part of the entitlements, and that would come to you in the form of a recapture agreement But what is here today is basically going to allow sufficient recognition by the city to both Cyrus One and CME to move forward with this Cyrus One agreement with CME. So we have an opportunity here to leverage sort of changed market conditions as it applies to this great demand for data centers. We, at the same time, can help a valued corporate partner to the city in Cyrus One. It's consistent with the area, which has become a pretty significant technology area and corridor, and also provide the city with recapture plus some additional funds to be determined with the formula that's indicated in the MOU for future use to be determined by the city. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and I believe we have somebody from Cyrus One. Thank you.
Questions or comments from the committee? Alderwoman Abate.
Thank you, Chairman. Alex, what is on the corner of that property, the triangle?
So if you go to the location map. So the map, while it's downloading, we attach, is just sort of representing the close proximity of the existing Cyrus One facility to the 30 acres, so in red. And it's not quite up to date because we know that Cyrus One expanded to the west on their existing footprint, but this is to indicate to you the close proximity. The blue is the 30 acres in question that's under contract. The vacant property just to the south of the tollway, that's no longer vacant. That has a warehouse that I believe is currently occupied by Ryder. And then, of course, this does not show the tremendous construction that's occurred on the edge property to the north east of the blue box. So you also have on the other side of Eolus, Scientel. So you have the emergence of this data center sort of corridor, if you will, going north and south.
So just adjacent to the 30 acres, there is a triangle on the south side.
That
we have
is
a right-of-way-
detention.
Okay,
That's detention, and it'll be determined with Cyrus One's plans through the planning and zoning process what adjustments would be needed for detention.
okay,
But we're not at that point yet.
okay. And I just wanted to make a comment. This will be great because data centers do not create too much traffic in the area, except for the construction part. I mean, not too many people work, but there will be additional jobs that will be brought to our city, and great benefit for school district. No additional pressure on them because there will be no students going from there, but still they will be getting benefits from the income from this data center.
Absolutely.
So that is
and-
amazing.
And this also, while this proceeds, or as this is proceeding concurrently, we will bring back to you the actual economic forecast like we did for the Edge property. But there's no question this will provide significant property taxes, significant utility taxes over time. You mentioned, I think, the construction jobs for the construction, and then obviously some
Technical
professional technical jobs at the data center. So we're very excited and hopeful. But again, this is just the MOU portion. They still have to come in, submit, go through all the planning items. And once that occurs, we will then bring back to you the recapture agreement.
And do you know how much is that red area in acres?
The current footprint of Cyrus One, I'm not sure. But we know, oh wait, I think in my memo, it was the building itself, I think is over 400,000 square feet. I think it's 428. But the land obviously is bigger.
Bigger, okay.
Alderman Bug?
So will this, there we go. Well,
looking at our tic-tac-toe board here, this kind of closes our thoughts now. I believe that we were going to have some type of, whatever, commercial, hotel, whatever, off of I mean, that discussion
Alderman Bug,
predates me.
you're exactly right. It does. There were significant efforts made, but did not come to fruition. But at the same time, as I said, sort of the market has shifted, and we know that there are other significant opportunities along 88 within Aurora's jurisdiction that we are exploring. The obvious one is Farnsworth and 88, but as you know, we're also heavily into Orchard and 88. And so one of the administration's objectives for economic development along the corridor is to leverage and take advantage for the highest and best use along the corridor to maximize tax revenue. So we think so far, based on what's come there, we're going to have significant tax dollars coming from now the northeast side where Edge is. This one, hopefully it gets completed. That blank property north, just north of Cyrus One, is a full development. It's a warehouse that's been occupied. And so, most importantly, at the end of the day, we will get back the city's investment on the infrastructure for Eola, for the interchange. And we don't always get an opportunity to do that.
Good. And I just want to mention, Mr. Whitaker, good to see you. I did a nice introduction for you on Tuesday, but I heard you couldn't be here, but it's good to see you. We were going to have you do that, talk about that, the traffic study we did for that other project, but everything went fantastic, so good to see you on this project.
So I have a question and a couple comments. The money we're going to get back, you said we basically pay for our infrastructure. Had we put a hotel there or some other things, would they have paid us back for the infrastructure? I mean, theoretically, speculative? We don't know that, right? So we're going to get that
highly
money
doubt
back.
it.
Okay, so we're going to get that. So that's good. I know that we're talking about hotels here, but I do want to comment that it's good that the city is able to maneuver and change their plans when opportunities arise. And I'm very happy that we're not saying we have a plan and we're going to stick to it no matter what. Opportunities come along and we're going to roll with that opportunity. And I think it's even less of a problem now because I don't think when this came about, we were going to have a hotel, a stone's throw away, a beautiful hotel from the casino. So I think a lot of these things are making it easier decision. So, but I'm appreciative that we're willing to say, look at this is pretty good. Let's change what we thought was the right thing in the past. So kudos to us.
Thank you.
I don't think a lot of cities would do that, but we're pretty good at that. Like, hey, this is different. We got to change, roll the punches. So.
Well, I think adaptability in this environment is key.
Sure.
And also having good partners, and Mr. Whitaker and Cyrus One, we had some significant discussions over a pretty compact period of time. But again, we got to a meeting of the minds, and we really also want to thank CME for sticking, hanging in there and partnering. They're a significant tenant and a significant presence in our region. So the fact is that they will be continuing, hopefully, to be in Aurora and in close proximity is a win-win for everyone.
I do have one comment, too.
Alderman Warren,
Thank you. And no city incentive for this, right? They're just building.
No city incentive, that is
ETFs or
correct.
Anything like that, so we're good.
Correct.
Okay, good. That's great news, too. So.
That's a good thing.
I couldn't pass it. I'm sorry. Couldn't pass it. That was-
Thank you for that, Alderman Warren.
any other questions
Chairman?
or comments?
If the petitioner wanted to add anything, we would just like him.
Like to say anything, Mr. Whitaker?
I would just say that, we appreciate staff's efforts. As he said, it was a expedited process in order to get here. I actually came in late into the process. I think I've only been on this about a week. So I look forward to working with you guys again. And this is certainly going to be a nice addition to the community that's going to help generate a significant amount of revenue both to the city and, as you said, to the school district. So I think it's a large-scale win all around.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Motion to
We have a
approve.
motion by Alderman
Second.
Bade. We have a second by Alderman Warman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Next item on the agenda is 24-0046, an ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $58 million taxable general obligation bonds, Series 2024, of the City of Aurora, Kane, DuPage, Kendall, and Will County, Illinois, for the purpose of financing certain casino redevelopment costs, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on said bonds, providing for the pledge of certain incremental property taxes to the payment of said principal and interest, and authorizing the proposed sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof.
Thank you. Chris Minnick, Chief Financial Officer for the city. As you mentioned, Alderman, a minute ago, the enclosed is the ordinance authorizing issuance of bonds in the amount of up to $58 million for the casino construction and relocation project. As the committee is aware, the city entered into a redevelopment agreement, or RDA, with GLP LLC and HC Aurora LLC in October of 2022. That redevelopment agreement governs the business terms of the redevelopment and relocation project for the Hollywood Casino. Among other things, the city committed to the evaluation of a TIF district and the implementation of a TIF district as part of the redevelopment and relocation project. In addition, the RDA does require that the city advance a contribution of $50 million to the project against future TIF revenues. The city has, per the terms of the RDA, the city has an obligation to make this advance of funding after the approval of the TIF district. As the committee is aware, the city council did formally approve the ordinances related to the establishment of the TIF district at last Tuesday night's council meeting. And so the city now has the obligation to make that funding contribution to the $360 million anticipated cost of the project. And the ordinance that's attached in your packet this afternoon will allow for the issuance of the bonds to finance the advance against the future TIF revenues. As a reminder, we are borrowing the funds for the advance and the funding contribution that we are making. Those funds do not actually exist today. They're not in the bank. They're not in a vault somewhere. They're actually being created by the bond issue, and then what happens is, over time, repayment will be made from the property tax revenue stream created by the increase in the valuation from the development itself. So in other words, without this development, those funds do not exist. The ordinance that's enclosed in your packets today is what's known as a parameters ordinance. It sets forth conditions under which the bonds may be issued. And additionally, the tax increment financing, or TIF district, will provide sufficient revenues to make the debt service payments. The city will not need to come out of pocket for the bonds. The ordinance and the parameters contained in the ordinance is consistent with the terms of the redevelopment agreement. In terms of next steps, we'd be looking to advance this item to the Committee of the Whole on February 6th, with final City Council action anticipated on the ordinance at the meeting on February 13th. We'd be looking to sell the bonds shortly thereafter and close on the bond issue toward the end of February. Staff does recommend approval based on the actions and policy direction to date, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments from the committee? Alderman Bade?
So, Chris, just to make sure, $5,250,000, the developer will be making the payment irrespective of they earn that much money or not?
Yeah, well, yes, they have guaranteed a payment, a minimum increment generation of $5,250,000.
Annually.
The bond ordinance actually contains a parameter that if the debt service payments exceed $5.2 million, so there's even a cushion above, if that debt service payment exceeds $5.2 million, then the bonds would not be issued per the terms of the parameters ordinance. So they will have to meet that minimum, minimum debt service payment that the developer has guaranteed.
Thank you.
What will be the length of the agreement with the pay the bonds back? How many years? It's not going to mirror the TIF, obviously, because that would be way above.
I'm sorry?
So how long will it take to pay that back?
We're looking at either a 20-year bond or a 22-year bond.
Really?
Yes.
So, well, apparently my math is off, because it seems like
Yeah.
it's a long time. How does that work? So if we're paying $5.25 million a year, if that's what we anticipate the yearly thing to be, how much are we paying back over 20 years?
Over 20 years, I believe that number approaches somewhere around $94 million under current market conditions. It does fluctuate
Well, so that's
with
quite a
the
bit.
bond
Yeah,
market.
so that's quite, I mean, I didn't understand it was going to be that high. Not that it's a problem, because we're not paying it, we understand that. I just didn't know it was going to go that long.
Yeah, there will be sufficient revenues generated
Sure.
by the TIF between the increment and the guaranteed payments to make those payments back.
Right, okay. I wasn't concerned about the paying, it's just how long it was going to take. So
Okay.
it may
Well-
not mirror the length of the TIF, but it'll be in that neighborhood.
Yeah, and I should mention that we're currently, as part of the bond sale, incorporating a call provision. So in other words, I believe it's after 8, could be 10 years, but it'll really depend on the market conditions when we get to market in the middle of February.
Right.
But there would be an ability, if our incremental revenue is running, if we're getting a lot more in revenue than the 5.2 million, we would be able to call the bonds early and retire them early, and shorten up the length of the bond issue.
But that burden really is never going to be on us anyway, so it doesn't, I mean, it would be good, but it's not a bearing on us, because we're paying nothing. The value and the casino, if it doesn't make that, will be making up the difference, so it's not a burden for the city.
It should not be, no, it would not be.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
All right, I have a motion by Alderman Mormon, second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else to come before the Finance Committee today?
Motion to adjourn.
Hearing nothing, we have a motion by Alderwoman Bade. We have a second by Alderman Norman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we are adjourned